I want to share a hopeful idea that our bodies are not helpless machines but living systems with an innate capacity to heal, and two contemporary researchers and teachers, Gregg Braden and Dr. Joe Dispenza, have spent decades exploring how that capacity can be accessed. Gregg Braden approaches the question by bridging ancient wisdom with modern science. He points to a growing body of findings about the heart, the nervous system, and the informational field that surrounds us. Braden emphasizes that the heart is not just a pump but an organ with its own complex signaling, electrically and magnetically, that communicates with the brain and with the cells of the body. From this perspective, emotions and coherent heart-brain states are not just feelings, they are physiological signals that can bring the body into states of resilience and self-repair. He explains these ideas in talks such as The Science of Miracles and presentations on heart-brain coherence, where he weaves studies, historical traditions, and real-world examples to suggest that cultivating heart-centered coherence supports healing. Dr. Joe Dispenza comes at the same question from neuroscience, epigenetics, and placebo science. A chiropractor turned researcher teacher, Dispenza frames healing as a process of changing the mind and body's habitual responses. He teaches that chronic illness is often linked to persistent patterns of thought and emotion that keep the body in stress chemistry. By intentionally shifting thoughts, emotions, and neurophysiological states, especially through focused meditative practice, people can change gene expression, retrain neural circuits, and in some reported cases reverse illness. Dispenza documents these ideas in his books and in talks and workshops such as You Are the Placebos and in his Becoming Supernatural presentations, where he reviews case studies, physiological measurements collected at retreats, and the research he feels supports mind-driven change. So how do they actually discover or demonstrate these capacities? Neither presents a single conventional clinical trial that resolves all doubt. Instead, both rely on a combination of sources that include 1. Laboratory findings about heart-brain communication, 2. Documented case reports and before and after physiological measurements from seminars and retreats, and 3. Synthesis of peer-reviewed studies from related fields, neuroplasticity, placebo research, epigenetics, alongside experimental reports. Braden tends to emphasize how modern measurements are validating ancient teachings. Dispenza focuses on how deliberate mental practices, meditation, intention, emotional regulation, produce measurable changes in brain patterns and, he argues, in bodily physiology. What does this mean for us in everyday life? Both teachers offer practical implications that are surprisingly similar. Cultivate coherent emotional states, love, gratitude, calm, practice focused meditations that change habitual thought patterns, and pay attention to measurable feedback, heart rate variability, subjective symptom shifts, or other physiological markers, so you know what works for your unique system. They do not promise magic, rather, they invite disciplined practice and curiosity about how mind and body interact. If you're intrigued, you can hear each of them explain the methods and cases in detail in specific talks. For Gregg Braden, look for The Science of Miracles and his presentations on heart-brain coherence. For Dr. Joe Dispenza, start with his You Are the Placebos lectures and his Becoming Supernatural talks and workshops. Before I close, with a word of balance. While Braden and Dispenza present compelling stories and frameworks, scientific inquiry values reproducible, peer-reviewed evidence. Their work sits at the intersection of inspiring anecdote, emerging science, and personal transformation practices. If you're exploring self-healing, consider combining what you learn from them with conventional medical advice and with physicians or researchers who can help interpret objective measurements. May your curiosity and discipline open new pathways for healing, for science and for your own life.